I can keep it like this too. Like if you want me
It's
to
fine.
do an
It's
entire,
fine. No,
Like a TikTok.
yeah, like a TikTok.
TikTok.
Here's what they don't tell you about the Federal Reserve in 2009.
Welcome to Spinsters, a podcast where we've heard that before. I'm Jordan, that's Haley, Harry's here, Sierra's here, and later we have Tim Baltz, comedian, actor, writer, and BJ from the hilarious Righteous Gemstones on HBO. Not much housekeeping today, just make sure to subscribe to our YouTube, rate, like, subscribe, all those things. And Tim, after the break.
Your character is responsible for my favorite scene of the last season where he wears the pink outfit after the baptism. That is when you saw the outfit. Did you think that's perfect or did you object?
I mean, it is. You just have to put your mind and you have to get in the right mind frame to be like, this is a gift. It's a gift to look this stupid. You have to lean into it.
Yeah.
But yeah. I think that this, I'd like to think that I'm nothing like the character. But what I do know is I am definitely, I have clocked that people have projected onto me this kind of character my whole life. In basketball, for instance, I always use that to my advantage because I step on the court and people would just be like, this stupid clown, I'm going to eat this guy alive. I'd be like, yeah, I'd play into it. I'd be like, oh, what are we playing to, or like any rules I should be aware of? And I would always catch people by surprise.
What is your game?
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Describe your game to us.
Well, I'm 41 now, so my game consists of not having good knees like anyone else.
I was going to say jump shots all day.
Yeah, jump shots all day. But luckily it was, I grew up in a house that had a 6-foot high basement, so you couldn't jump in the basement. But I had a full basketball hoop mounted on the wall that was like 4 feet up, I guess. It was so stupid. And I would dribble down there. So I would do all these I had this old projector machine, and someone had given me a reel-to-reel with Pistol Pete drills on them. Wow. So I learned all these Pistol Pete drills when I was 10 or 12, and I used to close my eyes and just dribble for hours at a time. So once I started focusing on it, I played soccer, so I could never try out for the actual basketball team. And our basketball team was really good. We went to state every other year. So even if I'd made it, I would have been, obviously the 12th man. But I got really good in junior or senior year of high school. And I'd always been pretty good, but no one could take the ball from me. And I was a very, very good shooter. And I can shoot out to 30 feet. So that was always kind of the bread and butter. If I'm on the court and there's a point guard who's stronger than me, then I just shifted over to kind of, a Steve Kerr kind of shooting guard. Just the further they push me out, I'm I'm okay. And as long as someone on the team knew what I could do, then I was fine. But I legit wanted to be a professional athlete growing up. I just did not get big enough.
What about soccer?
Hey,
what was
happens.
your position in soccer?
Yeah. Outside mid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same.
And then baseball, I was middle infield, center field. And then that was the thing. Baseball was one I was least suited for. I think you just had to get all stocky. They were just guys overnight that their thighs would just be bigger than my midsection. I'm I'm not built for this. And then you really have to have the right kind of mindset to deal with an 85 mile per hour breaking ball that starts at your head and drops to your knees. And I just did not have the mindset for that. I'm it's going to hit me in the face. And I struck out.
I hated softball for that same reason. And the softballs, while being thrown slower because they're bigger, are much bigger.
The mound is closer.
It's just,
softball's way harder in my opinion.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Way harder.
I'm not a fan. When we moved to Indiana from Connecticut, so when we were in Connecticut, it was just soccer all the time. It was great.
Yeah.
And field hockey, but I didn't play field hockey. And then we moved to Indiana when I was in middle school, and I really wanted to fit in. So I joined 4-H and started playing softball. And I thought softball was volleyball because it's called softball. So if you think about it, like, to me, it was the sport that had
sense.
a softer ball. Yeah.
It does make sense.
And I just never like really paid attention, I guess. And then went to practice and I was out very shortly after, maybe like a year. Put in a year at the furthest outfield you could go.
Yeah, it always felt just like a compressed version of baseball and harder to score. You know, running the bases felt hard. Fielding felt harder.
Harder
like
cheers, like longer.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
a lot of slant rhymes. Yeah, it was all around like much harder sport.
Jordan, did you play sports as well?
I did. I played basketball and only basketball. I didn't feel like I was coordinated enough for softball. Like, that was never the plan. But I did wish I played tennis. My dad tried to get me into tennis. He was like, that would help your footwork and basketball. Like, it always had to come back to basketball. But I love tennis now as an adult. It's so fun. And I wish I had played it earlier. It's so much fun. Outfits, amazing.
Yes, outfits are great. A great workout. And you can get really zen. Like, if you're not, it's a great sport to play at less than 100% intensity.
Yes.
I just started taking lessons down here, which is exciting. My sister was #1 varsity in high school for tennis.
Nice.
And I'm 3 years younger than her, but that gave me really terrible habits because she had beautiful form, but she was so slow. So I would just run all over the court, like hitting slice shots, and I would beat her and she'd get furious. But there were like big holes in my game, so I started practicing on that. Ping pong is my game. I'm a monster, and I'm cocky as hell.
I'm kind of good at ping pong, but I don't have the spins down. I'm sure you got some great spins.
Do you have angles? Because I just played someone who gave me my toughest challenge last weekend, and she played flat angles, and my slice did nothing. Like, it was so hard to figure out. Ping pong to me is like you get two people that are good and their styles are different, and it's almost like kung fu. You're just trying to solve someone before you get to 21. And if you can solve them, then you're like, okay, I'm figuring out where the openings are. I'm figuring out what they're expecting. And once I know what they're expecting, then I can throw the change up. Then I can throw the off speed thing. Then I can, like move the ball around. And because if someone has an even forehand and backhand in ping pong and they can handle all types of spin, it's a fun problem to solve. I love that part of ping pong.
Competitive ping pong is really fun to watch, and I would imagine participate in if I were, had any ability at all. But then when you take the levels of talent down to like near nothing, that's one of the worst sports. There are some sports that will always be fun, regardless of talent level. Ping pong, it's just like the ball is in the corner. Yeah, every single.
Exactly. What are we doing? What are we doing here?
You really got to practice before you bring it. Speaking of like hobby sports and picking them up as an adult, I wanted to talk about the LIV golf tournament. Is it called LIV or is it called LIV? I imagined it was like the club. I know it's named after the Roman numeral 54.
If they're taking Saudi money and they want us to not call it LIV, that's unacceptable.
Now, one we could take, but the other
one we're gonna take no matter what. It exists, but if it can't exist and be like, don't call it LIV. It's spelled. It says I'm not calling it LIV. I'm not giving it more syllables. For blood money doesn't get more syllables.
Right.
Gotta earn those.
Our former coworker Kevin Clark tweeted, if LIV football launched next year targeting QBs, which QB is jumping first? If we change this to the NBA and there was a Saudi-backed basketball league, what players do we think are just like dying to get the fuck out? Current players. Like, obviously with golf it's interesting because while Mickelson is technically a current player, I think most people think of him in the past tense.
True.
That's true. Okay, so current players who
needs
jump?
money, I guess, is really the question.
Yeah.
Or who presents as a villain? Because I could see Trey Young jumping and just being like, I'm Wario, like I'm the Wario of the NBA. I don't know if he would, but maybe.
Mine is similar, yeah. Jimmy Butler, I think.
Ooh,
A, I
yes.
think he gambles. B, I think he's up for any kind of time. And see,
He's
I
best-
guess he likes to swerve, you know, when most people.
He's best friends with Mark Wahlberg. He's for sure going to the Live tour.
Yeah, that's a gamble right there. Just being friends with Mark
He's
Wahlberg.
comfortable with the problematic, water.
Is he a listener? Did I ruined my own career?
Mark Wahlberg? I fucking hope not.
I get up at 2:32, Mark.
Yeah.
We're cool.
Oh yeah. It's hard to do basketball the same way like you could do quarterbacks. There's so many of them. I guess it's kind of like point guards.
Yeah. Oh,
But-
well, I think Enes Kanter would probably go.
That's what I was thinking. Freedom would
Yeah.
be
Freedom.
the
Oh, my
first
fault.
Sir,
one.
it's
He would.
Ennis Freedom. Okay.
Right.
Gotta correct you there. That's a really important player
So
that
sorry. I'm so
future
sorry.
Hall of Famer in his freedom, as they credit him. No.
I've
Yes.
slandered Tucker Carlson guest Enes Freedom. I'm so sorry.
Which on this podcast is unacceptable. Another hypothetical that is probably not going to happen, but you know what? I don't know how much you participate in the writers' room, but we also were thinking if the Gemstones like were supporting an NBA team, where do you think that they would lean? Like, what would their family, born and raised fandom be?
Ooh, that's a great question. What would their fandom be? I feel like I feel like it would either be something like, you know, like the Lakers, you know, or Celtics, where they'd be like, we root for winners, you know, we root for like the Yankees of a league, or the more like the Cowboys, we root for the Cowboys of a league. Yeah, Cowboys maybe is a better example. Like, what's an NBA team? It couldn't be New York, because obviously culturally they wouldn't accept that.
Jordan, do you have?
like the Magic? I feel like they'd be like an Orlando Magic family.
I can see the logo on the jersey, like the Gemstones
Right,
logo,
like
just
they're
has the
sponsoring
sponsor.
the jerseys.
Yes, on the Magic jersey. I think that's the way to look at it. Is like what would the logo fit on? Like which jersey would it fit on the best? I don't know, color scheme wise. I think I'm stuck on like color scheme wise, but on the Magic it'd be pretty funny. That's a good idea, Jordan. Yeah.
If not blasphemous though, just because of the name, I don't really know.
I
For
know,
me,
Magic.
I was thinking like the real life example of Joel Osteen, and I was like, oh, he must be a Houston fan, or like a Rocket. I don't know, because he doesn't really seem to support the community of Houston.
Oh no, you know what it would be? Oh, I know. No, it's Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oh, they are the mega church of the
They
NBA.
are.
Yes, they literally still pray before games.
That's
They do.
Yes.
That's a good one.
They hold the whole arena in prayer. Yes, they are. They do. They have a.
And the owner, like, you know, he stole them from Seattle. Like he bought them and was like, and they're like, you're gonna be here, right? And he's like, yeah, it's fine, it's all good. And then literally a year later, he takes them to Oklahoma City, and then you find out that like he was the one backing all the what was it was California Prop 8, was it?
Oh, like a bad.
He was super anti-LGBT.
Oh, good. Yes. Okay, so that's the
This
one.
all tracks.
All right.
Yeah, he was
That
against
is the one.
big time against gay marriage, and it can't. And then like everyone found that out like after they'd moved to Oklahoma City, and you're like, really? You let this guy get away with lying and stealing the Sonics? And then it just kept piling up. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like they'd be all in on the Thunder. That'd be also like the Thunder has like biblical connotations.
Yes,
you know
that's
what
what I was like. Bring the thunder. I feel like
Yeah.
they would put that as a part of the church service somehow. There's a worship song in there somewhere. I know
Yes.
there's a lyric that says that
Yeah,
at some point.
Couldn't you see Jesse Gemstone like talking to the players and be like God's thunder, you know? And be like, they'd be like, I don't know about that. It's like from a dunk, and he's like, yeah, no one dunks harder than Jesus. Let's pray.
Yes, that's the team.
Yeah,
I can
the
see the
Thunder's
logo
the right
and everything. That's
Yeah.
I think the actual godliest team for me is the Spurs. But I don't, it doesn't necessarily, the godliest team is not the team that they would support. So
Do you mean like their franchise just has like the purest kind of intentions, or the way that they go about doing things? Is that behind that?
the Spurs being the godliest?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like some kind of pure sense of purity coming from them. I think so. Yeah.
I think the basketball gods love the Spurs.
I agree.
They love the Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Actually, I think it might just be by default, because think of another team that you would describe in the NBA as godly.
As godly? Boy.
Because with the San Antonio, you're like, yeah, I can kind of see it. But like, if you can come up with another one.
I can't do it.
I can't either.
I would agree, because I have that much respect for Popovich. I just think like they're run so with such good intention. So I fully agree.
You know, nobody's really talked about like, oh, this is the off season where he could randomly. It's yet another off season, but I haven't really heard people talk about him leaving. So maybe they just assumed that he wouldn't leave on a year that they haven't made it. Like, I don't know.
Well, it seems like didn't Duncan stepped down from his staff. Becky Hammonds went to the WNBA. I really thought she was going to take over as coach.
Yeah.
Maybe. Well, who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have a W team?
Are you a Sky fan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
When I was in college, I forget if the Sky had started yet. When I went to Loyola in Chicago, and for a little while I was like, oh, they had like a tiny broadcast journalism department or something. And one of my majors was communication, so they had a radio station. So I would go downtown and I would do sports for their 88.7 FM radio station, which nobody cared about. It was all like rockabilly hipsters and like Elvis Costello freaks, in like the early 2000s, just judging me for being down there and running through like box scores for sports on an indie, like low frequency FM channel. But it gave me access to all this stuff. And I remember going to a bunch of like minor league games, and I went to a women's national friendly between the U.S. and Germany, and got to interview Mia Hamm and Carlisle, and it was really like a wild time. And then when the Sky showed up, I knew a friend who was like their PA announcer or something like that, and there was a lot of excitement before the TV market kind of caught up. And I just thought their run was like that. What an incredible run. That was the most, like, even the NBA playoffs, I don't watch everything, but I watch a lot. But I don't know if I missed a single like televised Sky game in that playoff run. It just became this, what were they, the 6th seed? It was like, how are they doing this? They just keep beating the odds. And you just had this team of destiny feel about them. And usually the luck runs out, and it didn't run out. Oh man!
And Candace Parker coming home, and just like the story, it was amazing. I thought I saw you next to Chance the Rapper right there courtside. That was probably.
I had a 4 on my hat. This girl I went to high school with is his stylist, I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
I feel like that hat could make its way into Righteous Gemstones at some point, just like
a 4.
Or the 3.
The 3? Oh, yeah, for the Holy Trinity?
Yeah, that's what it's for. Hey. Just in the background somewhere, just a Chance the Rapper hat. That would be an Easter egg that only a few would get.
It would be. We're stumbling onto this pattern where like the gemstones keep assuming things are godly, and people are like, no. They're like, yeah, 3, Holy Trinity. Thunder. Warriors.
Thunder.
You're like, the Warriors. We got to root for the Warriors. They're in San Francisco. Ooh, we'll root for the Celtics.
Do you have any finals thoughts? I realized afterwards this is probably the worst time for all of us to do this, because people listening to this are going to listen after the game's over. So please lay out all of your predictions, because they'll just be measured against if it actually happened or not.
Ooh, it's tough. I can't remember a finals where it felt more kind of unpredictable. I'm very excited. I've been excited every single game, even like game 1, which was a shocker. I think I'm pulling for the Warriors, but I really love the Celtics team, and I felt like they should have beaten LeBron in that game 7 a few years ago. So I'm so happy to see them here. Really happy to see Marcus Smart have shouldered like such a big load throughout the playoffs, because Brown and Tatum get the most kind of love, but I feel like Smart has had just like he really played with a crazy amount of responsibility offensively, which you don't see, especially for having been the defensive player of the year. Mm-hmm. I could see Boston winning this game because I think they are that gutsy. Despite everyone going into this game saying like, Steph, there's no way he has a bad shooting night. He's coming out. He's going to be livid. He's coming out with a vengeance. Yeah, but the Celtics are really good. They're really gutsy. Their defense is great. And if they have a Grant Williams game or an Al Horford game, who's to say that at home they can't tough it out? I don't know. Or maybe I'm just so superstitious that I'm like, I'm picking the Celtics because wink, I want the Warriors to win.
No, I think all those things are correct. For me also, if the bulk of your game is for you to go off is dependent on threes, it's hard to say like he's coming out with a vengeance because it's hard for me to picture that. That's a matter of accuracy. If you're like driving in, then yeah, vengeance, like intensity. But if you're shooting, you kind of just need to be precise. I would guess you wouldn't want to be so passionate about it. But yeah, for him to not have a three and then want to come back and make a bunch of them, I could see that as well. Jordan, do you have a...
Yeah, I think he will. Steph Curry will make a bunch of threes. I think that vengeance, when I think of vengeance, I think of that Andrew Wiggins game. Like he was on a mission and he was driving the paint a lot and he was being very aggressive. I don't think I think Steph's just going to take a lot more. And I think by that, he will make more. But it's time for Jason Tatum to have a big game. It hasn't happened yet. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're coming home. This is a closeout game. That's been a lot of the talk about the Celtics of how when their backs are against the wall, they do show up. So Tatum's going to have a big game. But I think the Warriors still win. That's my bold prediction.
Ooh. I like that. I think I'm just going to sign on to Jordan's prediction.
We both go down if it's not right.
Yeah. I could see Steph having 30 plus. I feel like they really hounded him. They did not give him any space in Game 5, but they lost. So you have to think that their defensive adjustments are going to open up more space for him. They just have to, because you can't go in saying we're going to do the same thing. We want Steph to score 16. We dare you to beat us. But the way that you kept him to 16 opened up a little bit of room. And defensively, the Warriors are good enough that I don't think you can count on blowing them out, even if Steph has a bad shooting game. Clearly not. I think Game 5 is maybe more repeatable for the Warriors than the Celtics. So my guess is that it opens up more space for Steph. And I think that Wiggins on the glass is the big X factor. And well, no, the big X factor I think is Robert Williams. If Robert Williams could play 36 minutes a game, I think the Celtics would have already won the series.
Yeah, I mean, both are true, though, because for both sides, it's like, who's going to be looser with the ball? Who's going to be tighter with the ball? You lean it a little bit in the direction. Who's going to have a solid third guy come through? Whether that be Wiggins, and sometimes Wiggins and Clay are rotating. You don't know who's going to be the second or the third any given night. Or Robert Williams. Speaking of Robert Williams, did you guys see the Isaiah Thomas tweet?
No.
Okay, hang on. Let me pull it up for you.
No. What did he say?
So there was a tweet that said...
IT or Pistons Isaiah Thomas?
Extra A, Isaiah Thomas, so IT. So there's a report. It says, Celtics told Robert Williams playing through injury won't make knee worse. So essentially the write-up is saying that the Celtics told Robert Williams III that if he plays through the knee, it's not going to make it any worse, dude. And then Isaiah Thomas quote tweeted that and said, heard that before, LOL. If you are new to basketball and don't get that context, Isaiah Thomas played on I don't even remember what the hip injury was. It was one of those that had many syllables and all kinds of vowels, and very technical terms. But yeah, he played through a hip injury and it changed his career and for the worse. And he's never been the same since. And the Celtics told him it'd be fine. And I looked up what Robert Williams has been doing to recover. So he tore his meniscus. He had surgery on March 30th. He came back less than a month later for game 3 against the Nets. And if you've been paying attention, if you gamble for sure, you'll know that every single game he's listed as questionable, not even probable. It's been every single game. Mm-hmm. And he's played through it to the degree I think he can. To recover, he has been draining his knee. He drained it all the time during the Heat series, and he stopped for this series because he said it just keeps refilling. It's pointless. He's icing it, deep tissue massages, treatment, and then he starts the process all over again every 3 hours until he goes to bed. I do not think it is okay to play through something where you have to do all of that. I get it because he has a limited amount of time he can play. He's in the finals. You feel an obligation. You know your team needs you. You're the reason that this season turnaround happened because Ime switched what they do on defense, and he's the center of that, literally. And yeah, I get wanting to play and feeling like you need to play, but that just stinks.
And he looks like he's in pain. Like, when you watch him play, when he comes down, he's hobbling, he's limping. I think that's the part that hurts the most, is it's like, great job, you're doing what your team needs, but you are physically in pain. And that's where I'm like, please sit down, rest, put a heat pad, put some ice. But he doesn't seem like he's going to.
And it makes it a lot clearer why they've kept saying throughout the whole playoffs, some days it feels good, some days it feels bad for him. Like, he'll wake up and he'll be like, it's a good day. And he's just flipping a coin every single day he wakes up, not knowing if it's going to feel good or bad. And you can see it. Like, you can see the games where it feels bad for him. He's ineffective. And in this series, it seems like he's had a couple games in a row where it felt good. And where it doesn't play into Boston's favor is that they've lost. They haven't won all of those games. Mm-hmm. And he had been such a factor when he was playing well. I mean, he's such a problem.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He is. And his game is like dependent on collision. That's the problem. He is literally your stopgap. Like, he's going to either go very quickly laterally. He goes, I mean, it's just like seeing the range of motion because you know that hurts because it all comes from your knee. I hate it for him, but
yeah. And his presence too. I hope that's not what they're telling him, of just like, be out there, because that makes Steph think twice when a center goes and sets the screen and Robert Williams' hand is there, then Steph may not take that three. And I feel like that's one of the big reasons that he's out there. But I don't think it's worth it. It's never worth it to play through an injury because you have the rest of your life besides this part. You're not going to be able to walk in like 10 years. That's what I always think about.
Yeah. I mean, I would feel bad for him if he has lasting damage and they lose in 6, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's 24. And centers' years are cut even shorter usually. Big men's years are cut even shorter. Yeah, I would hate for them to do all this and for him to do all this and to lose as well. That just feels not fair. We are going to take a quick break. Then we're going to talk about Christian Wood, some Chicago fandom, and maybe why comedians love basketball so much. Okay, well, Christian Wood got traded to the Mavs. I thought this was very funny trade. They are giving away the number 26 overall pick in this upcoming draft, Boban, Trey Burke, Marquise Chris, and Sterling Brown, in exchange for Christian Wood, who's in the final year of his 3-year deal. I think that's why I thought it was so funny. Also because he is such a problem in the locker room, not like he is on the court as well. Dual
and
threat.
A problem can mean multiple things.
Yeah, he's a problem. He's a problem.
This is his 7th team in 7 years. That is just that's so many things to give up. Things and players and yeah, for a player that I hope is legitimately going to be like a net good for the Mavs. But I mean, he can do things that will benefit them. He can shoot. He plays super well inside. But I don't know. I like it for the Mavs right now, but I think that Dallas is like very remarkably short-sighted. Their front office sees right in front of their face and does not see far away at all. Wait, is that farsighted? Technically? Isn't that farsighted? If you're nearsighted, you can't see? Sorry, I have perfect vision, so it's just not a problem for me.
Okay.
Wow.
They throw away my glasses.
Good. That's a really cool flex that you were able to.
Damn.
That felt
brag.
like a
Really
like
naturally
a-
work that in.
Yeah.
I know you kind of that was like an off the backboard alley-oop, Haley.
Yeah.
Myself.
Yeah. I'm really good at something while not knowing things. Flex. Because the Porzingis for Dinwiddie trade was fantastic. It was great. I mean, Dinwiddie helped them obviously get as far as they did in the playoffs. When you look at their roster, Chris had at first I was like, oh, Christian Wood, wow, yeah, think of the upside. And then I saw that his contract is expiring, and then I thought about Chris and how like Marquise Chris had such a resurgence, and clearly has just not found the right environment yet to flourish. Like he absolutely has like, you know, maybe 4 or 5 like really good years and has just never been in the right place. Will it? I don't know. When you think about like how they got beat at the end of this playoffs, is that the move?
Yeah.
Who are you replacing? Like Chris wasn't getting that many minutes. Burke wasn't getting that many minutes. Boban wasn't a long-term solution. Sterling Brown, I forget what role he had. So is Christian Wood, is he going to solve the problems that they need to solve in order to get past the Clippers, Suns, or Warriors?
Yeah. That's a question mark for me. I don't know if he's the missing piece, but I think of Boban in this situation. He's so lovable. I'm really sad for Luka because they really had a BFF situation. But when you think about this Rockets team, like who is going to be his next best friend? I don't know. Is it John Wall? Is that like who is that going to be his
John Wall
best
is
friend?
nobody's best friend.
Right?
I don't think
Like,
that
I
man
don't
has
think
a best friend.
that's the best fit for Boban. So I wish they would have considered his friendships a little more in that trade. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, I mean, I'm sure he can get signed somewhere. DeAndre Jordan got assigned to a fat contract just because he was friends with Kevin Durant. So being a friend pays well in the NBA.
It does. I like that strategy. Boban is the actor / NBA best friend, and that works for him.
I want the Mavs to go all out. I think they just need much more than this, and also hopefully this is not the like, I don't know. I see this working well for like a season, if that. Christian Wood is difficult to work with. So
I'm surprised that they didn't target like Bullock, Hardaway Jr. or why am I blanking? Finney Smith. Like to me, those are all valuable pieces that maybe have some concurrence. So I don't know. I clearly didn't watch enough Rockets games to be excited about Christian Wood.
I don't think anyone did.
no, I
That's
really
the
liked
problem.
Christian Wood. I really
Me too.
did. It's just that then he had that weird stretch where all of a sudden the locker room was like not getting along, and it wasn't just him, but they had I remember when they said like, oh, John Lucas was brought in because some of these players like need some extra guidance, and he wasn't getting through to them. So that's not a good sign. You know, the level of inspirational coach that he is to it not working that's a bad ratio. But it being your 7th team in 7 seasons is a bad stat. And I won't. It's hard to forget that right after John Lucas and I think the rest of the team confronted him at that halftime that he didn't start because he was late for a COVID test, so he didn't start. They put him in. He barely gave any effort. At halftime, they talked to him about it. He came back. Second half, he refused to go into the game. That is not like a heat of the moment thing, right? It's not like that's like he's on the court and he pushed somebody. That's just a decision he made, and that speaks volumes, I think. Hopefully I'm wrong. I like watching him play.
It's a young team. Some of that, like, locker room stuff could just come from, no one really has the experience to step up and command a young team's attention. And, it's that, and they had a tough season. I mean, that's not
losing
good.
Sucks.
Yeah,
it really does.
fun.
But he'll be going into a position where he's playing behind an MVP candidate. He's playing for Jason Kidd, and he's playing with a lot of veterans that just had success in a deep playoff run. So maybe it'll be the first chance that he gets to slide in to like a healthier environment, or he'll feel more stable and he knows that he's playing for a contract.
Yeah. I want that for him. And just to kind of be able to be not in the background, but like Luka is going to get all of the attention. And so kind of maybe being that role player, that second player that they need, can take the pressure off him a little bit. Maybe. I wish the best for him, but I hope Dallas, this isn't their big move and they're like, woo, we're done for the offseason. They keep building because they're going to have to build a little more to get through those Western Conference teams that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, because right now all of those teams' like biggest opponent is themselves.
Yeah.
Maybe not literally the Warriors right now. They have to play Boston, but
That felt like the last line in like a not a rom-com, but like a really inspirational movie. It's like, and it turns out they found out their actual opponent is themselves.
Credits.
Credits. The Christian Wood story.
Well, speaking of that, did you watch Hustle, Adam Sandler's movie?
I haven't watched it, but I have seen all the Anthony Edwards teasers that came out. Whew, he's a good asshole.
Yeah, he is a really good actor.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, I mean like sorry. I mean
I mean it in the way where I'm like,
clip
it is suspiciously good for somebody who has what I assume is no acting training to be that good at talking shit about like people's daughters and moms.
Such a good villain. It was
very
spooky.
good villain. Yes,
Very good.
Now, when you first saw the trailer, do you remember the movie The Air Up There with Kevin Bacon?
Mm-mm.
Because when I first saw it, I was like, oh, it's like The Air Up There.
What is that about? Was that another sports movie?
Yeah, this is like early or mid 90s, and Kevin Bacon is like a talent scout who had been a great college player, and he goes to recruit a player like this, like, person who's like just learned basketball, and then brings them over to college. I think it was like right before or right after Blue Chips. It obviously didn't do as well as Blue Chips. But it's Sandler. It looks incredible. I mean, it looks like Uncut Gems. And Sandler's so good at grumbling. I love it when he plays characters that know better than the people that character's around, but he doesn't have the power, and so all he can do is kind of grumble. Like, he's like, take him out. The guy's like, no. He's like, he just has to like grumble and walk back and know that the wrong thing's gonna happen. He's so good when he gets to play that role.
Wow, you're right. He is really good at that
so
role.
true.
He's really good as someone who has to grovel, like for some reason or another. Like in this one, you'll find out that there's a past, but yeah, he's really good at that player.
I'm very pumped to see it. Have you watched it?
We have watched it.
We have watched it. We won't spoil anything.
Damn.
But let
We
us
won't.
know how you think the players who acted did. But
Wait.
your thing of Anthony Edwards is spot on, though. He's a great heel, great asshole. Like, I didn't like him during the scenes, but then the scenes would flash away, and I'd be like, no, I love him. It's Anthony Edwards.
So
His name is Kermit. So
it is?
Good name.
Wow. Oh man. Oh, that's a villain named Kermit. Wait, so what other players are in it? He's in it?
Oh, let me
Ooh.
pull up the list because
There's
it's a
so many.
long
Really?
list. Yeah.
there is so many. My main thing was that Adam Sandler made a movie about basketball because he loves basketball, and he just got to be around NBA players and just
Yes.
dap up Dr. J. Like, that's why this movie was made. So Adam Sandler can have those experiences.
I felt the same way about Adam McKay in Winning Time. There's like, you could pick anything. Like, you could do like, please do a Big Short style movie about climate change. We all need it to be on our radar. Or do it about like, the ascendancy of like, far right power grabs or something like that. And instead he's like, I need some time off to make a movie about the Showtime Lakers or, a limited series. Like, okay.
Why not? That's what I would do.
If you get to call your own shots, there's no way. Like, I would 100% be making basketball stuff all day long. All day long.
Who would you cast in your basketball movie? Adam Sandler, your dream basketball movie.
My dream basketball movie? Like current players?
Yeah. Or any players.
Any player,
yeah, there was a lot of players in it.
Well, there'd be... Okay, so I'll blend a few things. I think Boban's fantastic. Boban has to be in it. He has to be in it.
His Costco commercial is really good.
Oh, man, they're so great. You know what else? My wife's name is Lily, and the Ball commercial for AT&T where he says, "I'm Lily now." Every time I hear that, I laugh for like 30 seconds.
It's a great commercial.
He crushes that line delivery. Like I like Lonzo because he's on the Bulls. LaMelo, I was like, he's rookie of the year. Like, this guy's great. He's fantastic. He's so long. He runs like a gazelle. Like, he made the Hornets fun to watch. And I tune into his games, when I have League Pass. But man, that won me over more than anything when he's like, that's what I'm going for. Employee of the week, I'm Lily now. Oh man, that is such a great line read. So he'd probably say, I'm Lily now. In the movie, he'd have one line. He'd just be like, "I'm Lily now." LeBron would say sexual intercourse, like he did in Trainwreck. He just comes in, he works for 5 minutes, then we get him out of there saying sexual intercourse. It'd be funny to have
all-time bad movie.
Trainwreck?
Yeah.
Yeah, you hated it?
Yeah. Did you guys like it?
I like Hater, and I liked LeBron saying sexual intercourse. That's kind of it. I don't remember anything else.
Me neither.
That's the main thing.
I just had this probably one of the like biggest sweat-inducing moments of my life because I was like, what if Tim was in Trainwreck? I was literally just like, oh my God, Haley, you can't just be saying shit. Like, I'm not kidding when I say like, I'm so sweaty right now.
What if he was in Trainwreck? That's why he's talking about that LeBron sexual intercourse line. I just trashed it.
Because you did have a response. You're like, oh, you hated it. Like,
yeah, I was
that was my best work, and that's your opinion.
Radical honesty over here.
No, it's cool. I'm used to it. Also, if you've been a part of CISO, you've heard so much shit talking about projects that you've been either directly or loosely affiliated with that it just rolls off your back. When people hate stuff, I'm like, it's okay. Whatever. There's a lot, like, things are stressful. It's like being in entertainment is like being in on a basketball team. You never know when you're gonna have a good season, when you're gonna have a bad season. You never know when you're gonna overperform or underperform in the eyes of other people.
Right.
Yeah.
Technically, like, I booked a job, I'm working. It's a championship every day I show up to work. I won the championship. This is fun. This is what I trained to do for so long. But other people, like, I remember my cousins, I came home one year and I'd just done like Veep and Better Call Saul and something else. And I sold a show that moved me to LA, and I ran into one of my cousins and he was like, "Hey, I saw that US Cellular commercial. That's the best thing you've ever done." I'm like, what the fuck, dude? What's your problem? What are you talking about? I was just in Veep. And he's like, "I don't watch that show. That commercial was funny." That sloth, did you get to pet the sloth? What? All right, man.
It's your own family sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Well, they don't understand. If I walked into the bank that some cousin worked at, and I'd be like, "What the fuck is this? What, do you count money here, idiot?" You like to count? You like to count stuff? What are you, a baby? You learn to count all day? Let the computer do it. Stupid. This building sucks. So, whatever. But yeah, it is really funny that like there are unfiltered opinions that come out, because when you're around people, you don't have to check yourself with that stuff. And we trade these things so much because we're past peak TV. We're in like peak TV. I saw some tweet the other day that was like once a week or once a month, a show comes out that 10 years ago would have been the best show of the decade or something like that. Mm-hmm. They just keep coming out. And our taste now for like, I don't like that, is shocking. Because it's so, we have like, our palates have gotten refined, I think like forcefully in a way. I don't know, maybe some people still have trash taste, but.
No, I mean, I think that's true, because I will give the disclaimer. They've all heard this a million times. So like, I'll say like, oh, I loved it, but also like, I don't have good taste in TV, because I'm tired of explaining myself. You know what I mean? Let me love these shows in peace. Yeah, I'm not going to give examples without your IMDb up anymore. But yeah, there's a lot of shows that I know are not like critically acclaimed that I have loved or have at least finished. Like I was telling them the other day, I watched all of Bloodline on Netflix, which like with Coach Taylor in it. You know what show I'm talking about?
Yeah, of course. I'm in half the episodes.
Okay, yeah, good. Yeah. I was waiting for some like confirmation.
With Coach Taylor? Yeah. Wait, let me IMDb Coach Taylor.
I can never remember that guy's real name. I think it's a Kyle, but he might also be like a
No, you're
Steven.
Right. Yeah, Kyle Chandler. I was the other day I was stumped for like 5 minutes. I'm like, Coach Taylor.
Yeah.
Also, as a joke, I used to call him Coach Tammy Taylor with because I do think that's like one of the best marriages ever depicted in TV. Because they argue the way real people argue. You know, and she'll be like, well, that's not going to happen. We're not going to stand for that. You will be at the mayor's fundraiser. And he's like, all right. Oh, so that's how it is. All right. And she's like, that is how it is. I will see you there. All right. And it's like, yeah, you will be there, because that's how relationships work.
And there's never no like communication is ever effectively back and forth. It's just like her wine glass is like sloshing and he's like just saying that a bunch of times. That is super realistic.
And then it just cuts to him where she told him to be. That's my favorite.
And Buddy Garrity sidles up and he'll be like, Coach, I gotta talk to you. We got ourselves a huge problem with San Antonio's eligibility. Oh God!
Your TikTok should be you doing all the roles from yes, because those two were like 10 out of 10.
Million views.
God, that show was
with
so
the
good.
microphone. You have to have the microphone like
yeah, up like this, and then Tammy walks in. You know she's got the biggest white wine glass possible. Oh man, we watched that recently, and my wife Lily just like goes insane about that. Like she treats the characters in the show like they're a part of her life and responds like they're walking in the room after she just found out everything that they've done in their life. And it's great because, you know, a lot of times you'll show your partner or friend a TV show that you love, that you know, that you've watched like 3 or 4 times, and you just don't know how they're going to react. And my wife took to that show hook, line, and sinker. Like, by the end of the first episode, she's like, well, we're going to watch another one, right? I'm like, huh? And I had to downplay it. That's the best acting I've ever done, where I'm like, yeah, okay, let's watch another episode.
If you want. Yeah.
If you want. And inside, I'm like, fuck yes, going through it for the 5th time. Yes. Sorry, I keep swearing. I'm such a potty mouth.
No, you're fine. This is a safe space.
What is everyone's like show like for them or movie that you will show people but get kind of nervous about?
Ooh, great question. Do I have to go first?
I did one the other night that was like the riskiest thing ever, because we were having a movie night And actually, hang on, let me pull up the name of this movie because despite me always recommending it, I can never remember the name. What should I even Google?
Are you talking about? Like, yeah, I want to know how risky this is. I need a frame of reference with like an actual title so that I could figure out. Because I definitely have like a niche TV show in my head that is definitely like a maker. It's not make or break. Like I won't if someone doesn't like it, but if someone does like it, it's a make.
Yes.
It's not a break, but it's
okay. Got it.
It's like a huge make.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
that makes sense.
Haley, for reference, what were you talking about?
Well, I'm trying to figure out the name of it. I can never remember because I never think the name goes with the movie to me. Like it just doesn't match. But I'll watch it like, once every 6 months or whatever. But it's so good. And we were having a lesbian movie night, and I suggested it, and we'd all just smoked, and like the wine was out, and everyone was feeling great. And then I remember as we put it on, it's all subtitles, which is totally fine. But like we are all sloths, right? Yeah, you know what I mean? And also there's a friend group that talks. And so I'm just like so nervous the entire time because I'm like, no one's going to get it. It's got such a good twist. Like, and I'm just freaking the fuck out. However, what we figured out that we would do is anytime someone was super behind, they'd pause it and I'd give a little, like, this is what just happened.
Yes, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
What was it?
I'm still Googling. I put in Asian love story, scammer lesbian, and not actually good things have come up. So I'm just trying to make this clean. What was your show?
Wait, Jordan, did you have one? You seem like you were like, I got a couple.
Yeah, I have a couple because of what you said, like the make or break. And my number one is 90 Day Fiance. If you say that you also love that show, instantly best friends, and we have so much to talk about. There's so many seasons but I understand why people don't like the show, so it's not a point against you. But if you love 90 Day Fiance, you have a special place in my heart. But I've also been on the opposite side because my fiance Fred is a huge Marvel person.
Oh.
So deep into the comic books and everything. And I think that was my make or break. I think I have this ring because I like the Avengers. I think if I didn't,
wow.
Whoo! I think it would be something else. So I am so in. Miss Marvel came out last night. We cooked dinner. We have it on. I love it so much. I love all the characters. But I truly think it was on that hinge if I didn't like Marvel.
Wow. How deep is his Marvel? When he proposed, was he's like, Jordan, will you wear my Infinity Stone?
Honestly, I wish he thought of that. If he thought of that beforehand, definitely that would have been
all right. Well, he could put it in his vows. You take that. I'll help write his vows if he wants. If he wants Marvel references.
Yes.
So I have like my TV show is this niche British comedy from the early 2000s called Garth Marenghi's Dark Place.
Where does one find that?
I think might be streaming on Amazon or something like that. Let's see. But that it's like this very it's British. It is a super weird show. It's from 2004. Richard Ayoade, Matt Berry is in it. I think streaming. I'm pretty sure on Amazon. I thought it was.
Seems like a deep cut.
I can't tell. It's pretty deep. Yeah, it's pretty deep. But it's like, yeah, I think you can watch it on Prime. It's so fucking silly and weird and like purposefully bad. Like, it's a show made in the early 2000s that pretends to be a show that was made in the mid 80s as like a cheesy, like low rent special effects horror movie. But it's all of that is played for laughs. And Matt Berry, who was in Toast of London and What We Do in the Shadows, among other like great British shows and things like that, it's like his first series regular role, and Richard Ayoade, who like had a little bit of a splash here, who's in the IT Crowd, the British show. And it's only 8 episodes, I think, and it's just fucking weird. And I go back and watch it probably once a year, but it is one of those things where I'll slide it very cautiously to someone, and if they like it, I'm like, oh, okay, like you're weird. That's good. Like Brain Candy by Kids in the Hall, if you've seen that movie, like that's a weird movie where if someone knows it, they'll just like quote your ear off. And it doesn't even matter if it's aged well or whatever. You're just like, you have so much fun with it. The other movie, I mean, like in terms of like putting this in front of a partner, and definitely like my wife responded well to this, but I kind of need to watch it once a year, is Love and Basketball. You know?
Oh, yes.
I mean, that if someone's like, I'm not into this, I'm like, that's maybe a break thing. I'm like, really, once a year you can't watch, can't sit and watch Love and Basketball with me? Like, emotionally, this is where I'm at. I need to watch this right now. And you're saying no? Like, that would be a break. That'd be a break for me.
I own it on DVD, and I had it on VHS. So, yes.
I think I bought it on iTunes the last time I realized. I was like, I don't own this. I just bought it on iTunes.
It's a good plane movie.
Oh, I bet. Oh, wait. Well, now I guess people don't wear masks on planes anymore. I don't want to be crying in a mask on a plane.
Oh, I cry. I always cry. Because I either it's You've Got Mail or Love and Basketball. It's got to be some kind of light rom-com. Last time, my aunt was like surprised I'd never seen Saving Private Ryan. So I watched that on a plane.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah, but
you were asking for the
big
tears.
public
Wow.
crier over here, so it doesnn't really matter.
That
yeah,
first scene, you're like,
Yeah, it was emotional. Couldn't figure. But then when he said he was a teacher, yeah, that killed me.
oh my god.
That killed me. I really like Matt Berry. I think Matt Berry is also one of those names that probably has the largest range of like people who do different things. Isn't there like a football analyst named Matt Berry? It just seems very general.
Oh, this is what you mean. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just think that,
Yeah.
but What We Do in the Shadows is so funny.
So funny.
My, like, show one is probably, well, the instant bonding is Love Island, but I do find a lot of people watch that. It's just so funny, but also, like, you know that person's going to waste their time doing something. So I automatically think they'd be good on vacations. Number 2 is Kath and Kim. Have any of you guys seen that?
Oh, no, but I've had a lot of people recommend it lately.
It's really funny, but it's not the kind of funny that I want to force on people because I don't know if they'd find it funny.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for me,
Yeah.
like, that's very funny. So Kath and Kim is one of those for me.
Yeah, that thing that hits the frequency, that kind of ends up being like more make than break. Like if people don't get Garth Marenghi's Dark Place or you know, some more obscure comedies or things that just like hit me at the right place and the right time in my life, if they don't get it, I'm like, okay, no big deal. But if they do get it, you're like, how do you understand this as well? You know, it makes me look at a person in a different light. It opens this like fun dimension where you're like, oh, maybe we could be friends forever.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. In the same line, that's like when I found out that at where Jordan and I used to work, The Ringer, Jason Gallagher and Sean Yu, my coworkers, were like really big fans of Hot Rod, because for all of us that was a thing where it was like we were teenagers when we became obsessed with it. So then to see that you loved this like deeply funny but like in a deeply like and cherished immature way, but as adults you still can bond over it, that was a unique thing too. So things like that where it's from a long time ago, like Love and Basketball in a different way but sort of a similar way.
Yes.
Oh, I just, even you saying it again, I'm like, ooh.
Might be time.
Gotta
for
watch
rewatch.
it. Might be time.
Might be time. I need to open the floodgates.
Yeah, that's your emotional vulnerability day.
Yeah,
Your need
yeah.
to cry day.
You got it.
I'll watch Amélie and Love and Basketball back to back, and The British Office. That's the same. You ever watch The British Office all the way through?
Not
I
all the way
haven't.
through, but only because it was hard to get it available to me.
That's true. Also, the second season is like more cringe than cringe comedy. First season is cringe
I don't think I
comedy.
can do it.
But trust me, if you get to the Christmas special episodes at the end, I'm the last like the last 10 minutes of The British Office will just break you in the best possible way.
The last 10 minutes?
I mean, yeah, when you like the last episode, the last episode in general, but like the last, like the way that it ends is just so perfect and gorgeous. It made me delay watching The American Office for years, even though I'm a gigantic Steve Carell fan, because I was like, there's no way that it can hold up. And they started The American Office by like kind of doing it, you know, I think the first episode is almost exactly like the first episode of The British Office, like shot for shot. And then they deviate slowly from that. And I was like, I'm not into that. And then eventually I started to get like hard opinions, like, you know, like Jim never should have left Rashida Jones's character. And like, he, you know, she's way better than Pam. And then slowly realizing like, no, they're made for each other. And then being like, Pam's really twisting the knife. She's treating Jim like shit. It's not cool what she's doing to him. And then being like, oh yeah, this is like so many people that I worked with, like they're meant to be together. And they allow everybody else to kind of like, you know, be satellites around them in the office, and everybody's hilarious.
Yeah, that is also another very realistic relationship, Jim and Pam, I thought, because like a lot of her things are just petty and yeah, the points at which you're not crazy about her. The movie, I looked it up, it's called The Handmaiden. I think it doesn't click for me because they never say The Handmaiden in English, you know, so I'm always just like, that movie I watch all the time. You can find it on Amazon or maybe Hulu. I don't know. I recommend everyone watch it. It's such a good movie for your upcoming lesbian movie night.
Is it emotional? Is it a tearjerker?
You're gonna be... So again, this is another one where it's kind of vulnerable to show it, because not even if everyone is totally sober and like in a mood to read, it's odd. You're gonna think it's odd. So it is a vulnerable one to be like, let's all watch this. But you're gonna be upset at points, but you're not gonna cry. I mean, did I cry? Yes. But because it was beautiful.
You gotta watch this movie. You're gonna get upset.
Yeah. The payoff is when you figure out what's going on, you're like, that was great for me during the movie night. Everyone screamed and they were like freaking out. So
oh, okay. Yeah, that's satisfying. So it's a satisfying thing to put in front of someone because you know that reaction is probably coming.
But so scary. Yes. Because what if the reaction doesn't come?
Oh,
you know,
yes,
and then you've just recommended this movie that everyone's talking over.
Right.
Sorry, Jordan. I know that you're like late for something, but Tim, please come back on. This was so fun.
Absolutely. When you had said maybe we were going to talk about old Bulls teams, I looked up the 07-08 Bulls and I was like, we had Larry Hughes and Joe Smith for like half that season. I'd forgotten about this. We had Ben Wallace and Joakim Noah on the same team. I'm like, how did we ever crack 80 points a game?
We should have an old Bulls off-season
whole episode
we just
dedicated
talk about,
to that.
Yes.
Oh, I would love that. We'll talk about the bench mob. Those were like really fun teams, and then the early D-Rose stuff. Oh, so heartbreaking.
I've always wanted to like ask a 15-year-old, like, could you really believe that this happened? And we tell them things about like players like Joakim Noah and being fourth in MVP voting and just seeing their faces.
Can you believe, just showing him clips of him like slowly like pushing the ball on the break, being like, this guy was fourth in MVP. What do you think of that?
Literally averaged 12 points a game.
Yeah. Crazy. Well, Nash won the MVP averaging like 15.6, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, but had like 50,000 assists per average.
Yeah, 50,000.
Yeah, per game.
But please come back. That would be awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you for this.
Yeah, Bulls off-season one. Thank you so much.
And we'll cry.
Yeah, my pleasure. We'll do a watch-along cry fest of old Bulls footage.
Love that.
In Japanese.
All right.